Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking us on out. All right, so a little bit of an update video. It is 12:30 on Thursday morning in the wee hours. And a little update video because I did this before I got to Dolphin Mall. There was a couple reports today that were kicked around. I mentioned one from the Philadelphia Inquirer that the Heat had not made Jimmy Butler available in trades. They were unwilling to trade him. And there was this report from Windhorst that had basically said that Jimmy is not interested in signing an extension elsewhere, that through back channels, teams had found out that he was not. So there was a report today, a couple of reports that came out today in the aftermath of this. This happened around the start of the draft time. Shams Charania said that he is not going to be signing. Not only he has decided he's not signing an extension with the Heat. He's not going to sign an extension with anybody. And in fact, he is going to plan on opting out no matter what at the end of this season.
But Jimmy Butler, he's going to play out next season under his current contract with the Heat. I'm told he will not be signing an extension with the Heat or any other team ahead of his opt-out in 2025 free agency. And this clears up any notion of a trade demand out of Jimmy Butler. He intends to play out next season. He has an affinity for Miami, wants to be with the Heat next season. So he has 2 years remaining on his deal, $49 million this upcoming year. Then that player option in 2025 for $52 million. And I'm told Jimmy Butler is absolutely determined to have a big season next year and set himself up for a major payday in 2025 free agency when he can sign a deal 4 years up to $240 million.
Okay, so there you go. There was Shams Charania. So 4 years, $240 million if Jimmy were to opt out this year, as opposed to the 2 years, 113 that Jimmy Butler really is what he wants. So in a way, look, here's where we're at with this. First off, okay, this report was also confirmed by the Miami Herald. Here was what was reported today by Barry Jackson and Anthony Chang. They had said Jimmy Butler, at least for now, has made the decision about his future in the wake of the Heat hesitance to commit to a contract extension. Butler has decided that he won't ask for a trade, a source of direct knowledge said this week. Meanwhile, the Athletic reported the Heat has not shopped him in a trade. Butler has made a second decision with the Heat non-committal about an extension. Butler has decided to play out this upcoming season and not sign an extension, barring a change of heart, a source tells the Miami Herald. So this is interesting from a couple of standpoints. One, it's good news for the Miami Heat because Jimmy Butler is going to come in here on a contract year, essentially, in what could be the last year of his prime, right? 35 years. I don't think that's an old age for Jimmy Butler, even though some people are worried about physical decline. You will have Jimmy Butler, you would think, at the peak of his powers, wanting to play as hard as possible, in as many games as possible, if that's really what he wants, playing balls to the wall. And in a weird way, Pat Riley kind of wins his initial standoff with Jimmy Butler in this poker game that he has with Jimmy Butler. And he also, of course, has the safety net should something bad happen, that he does have that safety net of the player option. But Jimmy Butler is kind of just making it a business decision. Wes Goldberg did point out an interesting point, and Shams did there as well. So because of this over 38 rule, he can only sign this extension this summer and get that one extra year, essentially for $60 million, right? The other year, it's kind of just a bump from what he would get in that second year. In this case, what did he say? 4 years, 240, Shams said. You know, that is, so you're essentially, doubling the contract that you could get in length. And then you have Jimmy going to not only his year 36, you're talking 38, 39. in his contract, which is surprising in that I think a lot of us didn't think Jimmy Butler was going to play that long. But you guys got to remember, the game has changed in the NBA. You know, these contracts are crazy, and if you can get a guaranteed amount on that dollar, you're going to want to do it. Now, will that make the Heat even queasier about giving him an extension? Yeah, probably. I would imagine so. It's honestly almost interesting that it's interesting because I think from Jimmy's people standpoint, they're saying, see, you should just give him the extension that would have just been the $60 million. Now, if he plays amazing, you're going to have to face the decision of, do we have to pay him $240 million up until he's almost 40? So there's that of a risk of even more money, but it's also from the Heat standpoint, I think they feel like they're going to get a motivated Jimmy Butler, a guy, playing ball. It is almost a little bit similar to D Wade's last season, because if you remember, there's a little quibble in the year where D Wade signed his last year with the Miami Heat. I remember they made him. It was a big deal because they finally had made D Wade the highest paid player on the team. And then D Wade balled out. He was awesome. He went to the playoffs that year. They beat the Hornets, lost in 7 to the Raptors. But I think D Wade was under the impression that year he was going to get a monster payday from the Heat. And what ended up happening? Well, you guys know what ended up happening. The worst moment of my life happened to that point, which was D Wade left and he went to the Chicago Bulls. So, but that ultimately did end up getting Jimmy Butler to the Miami Heat. So I think for right now, this is good news because it does appear very much like, hey, this season's about business. And I brought this up on the draft show, but for those who didn't tune in, I almost think I think in a way this is a good thing for the organization, because I don't think much changes with Jimmy Butler attitude-wise around the team. I don't think he's going to be anything different. I think that Jimmy gets to march to the beat that he does around the organization, and I think that he not only will have the goal of winning, but he will also have the goal of getting a crazy monster deal to earn himself even more wealth and ride off into the sunset with his last deal. Will that be with the Miami Heat? Man, I hope so. But it is interesting. It's kind of like Jimmy Butler's got an interesting. He's a different guy, right? And he kind of says what he means what he says, and so I think in his way he probably thought to the Heat, hey, The funny thing about it is, I think Jimmy Butler looks at it as, hey, I was going to let you off easy, and you just pay me this last year, and you give me that one last golden parachute year. But now I'm either going to walk or I'm going to make you pay even more. So that's all very interesting, but those are all tomorrow problems, right? I think ultimately what Pat Riley wants is to get Jimmy Butler to play that balls to the wall, to get that fire, to have Jimmy Butler prove something again, because I'm not calling Jimmy Butler a fat cat, but I do think that there was a comfort level with last year in that man thought he could turn on the switch because, hell, he's been playing like playoff Superman over his Heat career. So now they have him in this spot where, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of like middle fingers to you guys not paying me, but also that determination is going to have to produce on the court, because if he goes and he looks ancient, then who knows who's going to want to pay him. But it is, I think that this is, in the Herald reports, it says Butler enjoys playing for the Heat. He could simply opt out and re-sign with Miami in the summer of 25. Butler felt strongly about getting the extension earlier in the offseason before changing his mind after the Heat did not immediately commit to one. And so he's betting on himself that he could parlay that into a 3-year max contract with another team for more than $170 million. So if he left, 3 years, $170, and if he stays with the Miami Heat, 4 years, $244. So we'll see. But I do feel like this initially throws some cold water on what could have been thought of as a headache, but I'm honestly thinking that the Heat right now and Jimmy are happy that this whole thing has already got like the bow on the drama appears done. Is there an outside chance that the Heat look to trade him? I don't think so. I think that they know a guy. I honestly think that they're probably in a way probably excited to see what contract year Jimmy Butler looks like and to see what he's going to bring to the table in this big year for him professionally.